Jeremy did mention that this July we'll be doing High Lakes backpack stocking. I expect to see half of you come and carry fish. It's lots of fun.
Which
lakes?
Which lakes up there?
Well, I think there's about 20 different lakes that we stock out of just Leeburg. And then there's about 52 lakes that we stock out of Willamette. So there's plenty of opportunity. It's fun. Like if you have a big group, we have a lot of lakes that require several hundred, if not, 1,000 fish that can go in. So it is kind of fun to get a group together and do that. I know the Middle Fork Willamette is thinking about putting together a group, and one of my running group, we're gonna stock a bunch of fish.
How heavy are the packs?
It's pretty much, if you take a full load, which is 100 fish, and they're fingerlings, but you gotta remember you're carrying water, and it's about 4 gallons of water, 2 big ice cubes, so it weighs about 35 pounds. That's for a full load. Some of you look kind of delicate. We can always do 3/4 loads, half loads, and for Bob, a quarter. So we can kind of tailor it for anybody. I mean, we have people that show up that are, 5 years old. So there's littles that come. There's one dad, he's been doing it for the last 3 years with his girls, and his oldest is now, she was at the last time 11, and she's been doing it since she was 5, and his youngest was 5. So yeah, anybody can do it. Bring your grandkids.
Martyne, how do they get them into the lakes like Honey Lakes, which is about an 11-mile hike or so?
Yeah, we don't send people in that far. I think the farthest distance we have that we send humans into, because we also use horses, is 4 miles is the farthest distance that you'd have to hike in. And most of them are in that, 1/4 mile to 2 mile kind of range. And you're only carrying a heavy pack one way.
What dates will that be on?
It's going to be July 12th, 13th up at Willamette Hatchery up in Oak Ridge, and then the 14th out of Leeburg. And it's real fun. I'll be there. Jeremy will be there. There'll be a dance party.
Not dressed up as
I
Mario.
might wear my Mario costume.
Is that it? Oh, right here in the front.
It appears that the hatchery program on the Mackenzie has a limited life in what I hear, today. And, the removal of the dam is going to be another nail in that coffin. Is that correct? And do you have any insights as to whether the hatcheries may survive after that occurs?
We don't know right now. Personal opinion, probably the Chinook fishery has a limited lifespan, because once those fish can't be stopped at Leeburg Dam, we can't keep those hatchery fish from just blowing up river unless we come up with some really creative way to make sure that most of those hatchery fish get, taken back by the hatchery and used for brood stock. We don't want a ton of them, going up into the upper river, unless we find a way to make sure that we're bringing all those hatchery fish back to the hatchery. I would guess that probably after the dam comes out, it's going to be really difficult to continue our spring Chinook angling opportunities in the Mackenzie itself. The trout, Leeburg, we hope to keep around for a really, really long time, and so the trout in the trout fishery hopefully will remain solid, but there's a lot of things that are up in the air right now. So yeah, that's probably the best answer I have.
Lastly, I'll mention that we have the boat stocking schedule and the truck stocking schedule, and yet another stocking schedule. So if anybody wants these, I will put them up here.
Jeremy, you've been so generous with your time. Just one more question. Could you share any of the possibilities you have on dealing with the temperature issue? at Lieberg?
I really don't.
You said something like maybe get through a year or so and then restore. How are you going to mitigate the temperature restriction that DEQ is going to insist on?
It's not clear. Right now we have, several ideas and.
That's good. That's right.
Yeah.
You're dealing with the DEQ's TMDL for water temp, for
Yeah,
heating.
that's correct.
That's what it is.
Yes.
I understand that.
Yep.
Do you see that as being possibly a collaborative process between DEQ and ODFW in revisiting the TMDL for water temperature?
I'm not sure. Those conversations go on above my head.
No, that's fine.
And so I don't know, but I mean, we've talked about, industrial chillers and, all kinds of stuff. So they're working for solutions.
I'm sure they are.
And, yeah, we're doing
Thank you.
the best we can.
Done a great job.
Thank you. All right, thank you for all you do in helping us, take care of the McKenzie and the fish that live there. Really appreciate
The
it.
mitigation that was done at Cougar Reservoir for temperature controls is actually a detriment to the hatcheries as it stands now. Is that correct?
I don't think that is correct. I think it provides us with some more options to do some different things. The temperature control tower allows us, depending on what the reservoir levels are, to control the temperature more so than we would be able to otherwise. And so it does actually potentially provide more options for changing temperatures.
4 months out of the year when you have to close, though.
Right,
I think that-
right. So, one more in the back.
Yeah, sorry, I don't mean to take up too much time, but you're talking about shutting down the spring Chinook fishery because you can't protect the upriver native fish from hatchery incursion on the spawning beds. Is there a genetic assessment currently or proposed to be done of those upriver fish that are unfin clipped to prove that they are in fact native versus genetically crossed already with hatchery fish over all the generations that they've been able to spawn with them?
So the unique and super awesome thing about the McKenzie is the McKenzie hatchery stock was started from McKenzie natural fish coming back. And we continue to mix a certain proportion of those natural origin fish with the hatchery fish. So that's one of the things that we're discussing. So the long and short of it is yes, but people kind of have a stigma that hatchery fish are bad. And so, yeah, that's definitely something we're looking into, but the McKenzie is a really special place in the fact that, those natural origin fish are what we started the brood stock with, and we continue to, sprinkle in those genetics to that hatchery stock. So,
Which is great, but it's then the idea of shutting down the fishery because you can't keep the hatchery fish from getting above that doesn't make any sense.
well, and that's not a for sure thing, and we would look into to all the options that we could, but from what I see, from the social, standpoint and all of that.
The misreading of hatcheries is just stigmatizing with broad brush and then affect our fishery here because hatchery fish are bad, right?
Yeah.
The other thing is that we don't have a water source going into McKenzie hatchery. So that's,
Absolutely.
if by magic that got fixed, I mean, maybe things would be different. We would have very different outcomes for everything.
Yeah, we are looking at options, and like I said, that was my personal opinion, and I mean that's definitely not what we want to see. But without finding a way to keep those hatchery fish from going up there, it just seems like it's a big rock to push uphill. So, one more.
While we're on that, all the salmon enhancement that's been done in that upper river. In the falls, when we used to fish below the salmon redds, we used to catch a lot of big natives.
Yeah.
And we don't catch so many big natives in the river anymore.
Really?
think you're finding that those salmon and hatch enhancement, the big natives have good noses, and the hatchery fish, or not the hatchery, but the native fish are following them over in there, and there's not really very many good routes through there with a drift boat.
That is true. Are you talking South Fork?
South Fork, down there, Elk Creek,
Oh, gotcha.
I mean, below Blue River.
Well, the fish know where you guys can't get into.
Yeah.
So they're like, we're gonna spawn over
You know,
here.
but I'm saying that a lot of those enhancement areas have sucked, I think, a lot of the natives out of there. And over in there, I don't know whether they moved back into the river or if they just decided, hey, this is pretty nice over here, we're just gonna stay here. So that might be something you guys look at.
Yeah? Greg, you ready?
I'm ready.
Ladies and gentlemen.